Delta Force raid deep inside Syria. They set out to capture Abu Sayyaf, the man in charge of funding ISIS. He was killed in the firefight, but U.S. forces did capture his wife and key intelligence. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Terry Moran reporting on the raid. And Terry, this was a risky operation.
It certainly was. Good morning, George. It was high-risk operation sending these American troops deep into the heart of ISIS-controlled territory in Syria. But the president decided the intelligence was good enough, the target valuable enough, and Delta Force troops lethal enough to roll the dice here. The daring raid happened overnight Friday. Elite Delta Force troops taking off from Iraq aboard Black Hawk helicopters and V-22 Ospreys headed deep into Syria. Their mission, capture and interrogate Abu Sayyaf, ISIS's top money man, in charge of their multi-million-dollar black market oil and gas sales. Former Special Forces officer Jim Gavrilis.
This is not just another person. Their revenue streams are extremely important for their survival.
A counterterrorism official tells ABC News Sayyaf is also believed to be the ISIS leader who had been given American hostage Kayla Mueller, killed in Syria in February, as a forced bride or slave. The question on many minds after thousands of airstrikes on ISIS targets, why risk a dangerous ground operation?
We really did want to capture him. There's no question about that. He could have given us a lot of information about their whole financial structure, about all their oil smuggling.
But fate would have otherwise. On the ground at Sayyaf's house, a fierce firefight. ISIS fighters defending the building, using women and children as human shields, the Pentagon says. At times, the combat's so close, commandos using their training in hand-to-hand fighting.
So it happens in close quarters battles more frequently than you think. They'll even duck under your rifle. And when they duck under your rifle, then you have to get into hand-to-hand combat.
Abu Sayyaf killed in the firefight. Sayyaf's wife captured and held for questioning. And an apparent slave freed. All American personnel returned safely after scooping up laptop computers that could prove to be an intelligence windfall. The raid comes as ISIS has been making gains in recent weeks on the battlefield, especially in the key Iraqi city of Ramadi. But what happened to Abu Sayyaf this weekend? Well, it sends an unmistakable message to ISIS leaders. U.S. intelligence is improving, and they are not safe anywhere. George?
Okay, Terry, thanks. Let's get more on this now from CIA veteran Michael Morell, served at the highest levels as both acting director and deputy director. Mr. Morell, thank you for joining us this morning. And take us inside the decision-making here. Why make the choice for a raid, and is it a success even though Abu Sayyaf killed, not captured?
So, George, really important here. The real value here is taking a guy off the battlefield who's incredibly important to the organization, to funding it, to running it, very close to the senior leadership, to al-Baghdadi. So taking him off the battlefield, very important. It would have been great to have kept him alive and questioned him, but his wife worked very closely with him. So she's going to be able to tell us a lot, George. And that SSE, those computers, that information we got, it's going to help us understand the organization better, unravel it.
Yeah, I want to talk about that more, because in your new book, The Great War of Our Time, you describe some intelligence files picked up after a 2014 raid deep inside Syria. We learned a lot about the ambitions of ISIS there.
Right. So two documents in that cache. One is a document about how effective weapons of mass destruction can be against the enemy. That's us. One of those documents talks about how you actually make bubonic plague and how you use that against the enemy. That's us. And the other document in there is a document that talks about the religious justification for using weapons of mass destruction.
So we could be learning a lot from these new files as well. As Terry mentioned, though, ISIS taking hold of Ramadi right now. What's your judgment on where the war stands right now and the most important thing the United States needs to be doing?
So, George, a couple things. One is we have taken back about 25% of the territory that ISIS took in Iraq. Still a lot more work to be done, but we are doing well in Iraq. It's Syria where we need to do better. There aren't troops on the ground in Syria. There's not a way to take back territory in Syria right now. This raid sends a message, but ultimately, at the end of the day, we're going to have to take back territory in Syria as well as in Iraq.
And what's your greatest fear from ISIS?
I think what we just talked about is an attack in the homeland using some sort of weapons of mass destruction, which we're a long way off from. But if they get safe haven and they get it over the long term, then those are the kind of things we have to worry about, George.
Okay, Michael Morell, thanks very much.